Hello, my name is Lorenzo Rojas.
And I'm Brittany Scott, and today we are going to be discussing about the Catholic Reformation. The Catholic Reformation, also known as the Counter-Reformation, was introduced by many things. Such includes their humanist values that led people questioning the church's corruption, Martin Luther's 95 Thesis in 1517, and the printing press. But the Catholic Reformation was largely a response to the Protestant Reformation from their constant purgings and criticisms.
Early reformers, such as a monk named Girolamo Savonarola, were one of the first to try to reform the church from within. Recognizing the church's abuse to their powers, in the late 1400s he preached fiery sermons against them. He called the churches to melt down their silver and gold ornaments to buy bread for the hungry and poor members of the church. Savonarola convinced others to gather and burn jewelry and trinkets. This enormous fire was known as the Bonfire of Vanities. Pope Alexander at first allowed Savonarola's work, but soon excommunicated him for spreading the Pope's thoughts being dangerous.
Around 1534, other leaders formed new religious orders, whose members worked to reform the church. These works renewed the church's emphasis in spirituality and service. The most influential out of these groups was the Society of Jesus, or better known as the Jesuits. Founded in 1534 by Ignatius of Loyola, a Basque nobleman and former soldier, the Jesuits' order was approved by the Pope in 1539. Their main goal was sought to combat Protestantism with education, spreading their beliefs with universities, missions, and schools. This led the Catholic Church to seize Protestantism.
The Council of Trent was another way the Catholic Church addressed the concerning abuses that ruined the reputation of the Church. Pope Paul III is considered to be the first pope of the Counter-Reformation. It was he who in 1545 convened the Council of Trent, which is hailed as the most important event of the Counter-Reformation. It met on and off until 1563. Its delegates examined the many criticisms made by Protestants about the Catholic practices. The delegates addressed the abuses that had weakened the Church over the past century, as well as clarifying Catholic teachings on important points. This led to the training of priests becoming regulated and financial abuse being curbed. Also, the sale of indulgence was abolished. The pronouncements of the Council of Trent meant that there would be no compromise between Catholicism and Protestantism.
The Council's bold actions were a great boost to Catholicism. The Jesuits used this renewed spirit to expand the scope of the Church. Several important figures in the Catholic Church helped to carry out the reforms decreed by the Council of Trent, included Charles Borromeo, the Archbishop of Milan, 1560 to 1584. Borromeo took decisive steps to implement the reforms ordered by the council, such as building a new school for the education of priests. Another man in France named Francis of Sales worked to regain the district of Savoy, which had largely turned into Calvinism. As a result of his missionary work, most of the people of Savoy returned to the Catholic Church. He later founded a religious teaching order for women.
To counter the Reformation, the Church established a church court called the Roman Inquisition to fight Protestantism in 1542. Later, popes increased the Inquisition's power. They tried people who were accused of being Protestants of practicing witchcraft or breaking church law. The Spanish had an even harsher Inquisition in 1478. Their Inquisition was used to impose religious uniformity, especially on converted Jews, Muslims, and later Protestants. Accounts of torture and executions by the court damaged the Church's image. The Inquisition's actions during the Counter-Reformation are still seen as abuse of the Church.